All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We got some ground to cover, a lot of new developments taking place simultaneously, so let's get right into it. I want to start with the Fed. I know that they are planning to raise interest rates again to control inflation, but this is really not going to resolve anything. The interest rates will be paid by everyone who borrows money from the banks, which is most of the middle class. So the cost of interest will rise accordingly for mortgages, auto loans, credit cards, and business loans. The immediate effect is that fewer people can afford those loans. That means there will be fewer houses sold, fewer cars sold, fewer credit card purchases, and less business activity in general. This is going to be the main catalyst for the engineered recession I've been warning about.
I think the Fed is good for one more sizable rate increase. And I believe they're going to follow through with that because it is a credibility restoration exercise.
Okay, everyone. So he said that they are going to be using this Fed rate hike in order to build the credibility of the Federal Reserve. Now, I've warned about this in the past too. They are going to prop up the markets with all these fake numbers just to make it look good. That way they can muster up all the votes right before the election. Okay, let's move on. So I want to talk a little bit about the BRICS nations and the actions that they are taking in their quest to abandon the dollar and move into a basket of digital currencies backed by commodities. I've spoken about this in the past. We are going back to a gold standard because we have the technology now to digitize the entire economy. And this has been openly discussed at Davos and the World Summit of 2022. Many previous discussions and articles are actually resurfacing regarding central banks and their interest and heavy involvement with Ripple and its digital asset XRP. The truth of XRP's role is slowly starting to reveal itself to the world, and it will eventually play a massive role in the new monetary system.
Well, the BRICS have not been silent about their willingness to work towards some sort of restructuring of the international monetary system, which is, in their view, a bit better balanced and a bit fairer for all parties. And indeed, you have had formal statements made in BRICS summits going back over a decade to the effect of saying explicitly that they thought the way the current system worked, with the dollar at the center, of course, did not really serve their best interests nor the best interests of the world more generally. I can see why the BRICS are moving perhaps from rhetoric to more practical action to try to catalyze some sort of restructuring of the system. And indeed, the BRICS as a whole comprise a substantially larger portion of the global economy than the United States.
All right, so I'm going to read a statement to you from the Central Bank of Russia. It was written in 2018, which means this has been going on for some time now. These discussions are happening, of course, behind the scenes. Okay, so listen to this. In 2018, the Central Bank of Russia conducted research on testing the possibility of cross-border settlements using the Ripple platform. They also mentioned the use of XRP and the transfers or equivalent of fiat currencies issued by each participant of national banks. Now, what most people need to understand is that by using XRP and backing it up with gold, or stacking XRP on top of gold, what that does in the international marketplace is it creates a monetary level playing field. And this happens internationally.
There were a lot of disputes about exactly how the international monetary system should work. And indeed, a gold standard can be best understood as a system or a structure that arises out of a failure to agree precisely how money should be created. And so if we're going back to that sort of level of dispute, competition, disagreement at the international monetary level, gold solves for the game theoretic monetary equilibrium for a multipolar world that is nevertheless hugely dependent on international trade.
Now, for those who've done their research thoroughly will understand this, that Bitcoin might not have a place in the new monetary system, okay? But the digital asset XRP will indeed be backed by gold, which itself will be backed by XRP. And they've done very well to keep this quiet and maintained. But this will be part of the new quantum financial system. Now, for those who don't know, I've actually started to build my networks with people who are actually working on the central bank level. There are things I've been told behind the scenes, and I can't tell you everything, but I can tell you this, that all the XRP will definitely be backed with a 1-to-1 ratio with gold.
So, John, you're advocating for maybe a gold standard that is digitized would be the ideal hybrid system.
Absolutely. Look, I'm a huge fan of technology. Technology is behind all human progress, okay? I'm not going to sit here and say that we should go back to the coinage of the 19th century. Absolutely not. But why not take advantage of whatever latest, greatest information technology is out there and use that to transmit title to gold from one place to another in exchange for goods and services, or to purchase assets or whatever it is? Why not do that in the most efficient information theory way possible, which hopefully is also secure and all of that, but back it by gold?
Okay, everyone, so this may be very disappointing to Bitcoin fans out there, but I did not see any mention of Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency in the BRICS announcements. So the idea of Bitcoin as being a digital gold needs to rest. In any case, Bitcoin is nowhere near being capable of replacing gold as a reserve currency. Tether has been pumping artificial money into Bitcoin, which is pumping up the price. It's not a store of value, it's being 100% manipulated, and they're playing games with Bitcoin.
I regard Bitcoin as a fascinating monetary experiment, and there's really much to admire about that. I've been watching it from very early days, and have truly been fascinated by it, and I truly respect the effort behind it, and the effort to develop an ecosystem around it. But as that development has taken place, it has become evident to me that Bitcoin, while very elegant in its maths, is less efficient than is generally assumed as a monetary base. Now, I stress the word base. I'll elaborate on that in a moment. Basically, the issue here is that information theory, which was pioneered by Claude Shannon and others already back in the 1940s, and is the basis today of how internet protocols work with respect to sending bits of information around, and all computer storage, zeros and ones, basically. It has to do with energy. Well, how much energy does it take to switch from a 0 to a 1, or back again, or transfer that information from point A to point B? The maths behind that is very, very, it's fascinating and very complex, but it reduces to this. Bitcoin, sadly, is too energy efficient to allow for information transmission at global scale. It's just not efficient enough. It consumes way too many BTUs, as it were. Now, people are trying to solve that problem and make it more efficient by layering on top. They're stacking on top of it things like the Lightning Network, say, or Taproot, and these sorts of protocols and everything else. Well, that sounds nice on paper, but understand that undermines one of the original selling points of Bitcoin, was that it was fully decentralized. But if fully decentralized, it's too inefficient. So, okay, centralize it, but then you're creating points of failure. You're creating points of potential regulation and interference and potential points of fraud. And so a lot of the benefits of Bitcoin are lost as you try to come to terms with its energy inefficiency. Now, why does that make gold somehow better? Well, guess what? As a monetary base layer, gold requires zero energy to maintain, because Mother Nature simply created it. It's non-reactive. It has essentially zero entropy, and it cannot be destroyed. Okay? I mean, it can be dispersed, or it can be redispersed, but it can't really be destroyed in a physical sense. Bitcoin sadly lacks all of those immutable properties. And so as a monetary base, gold is superior. And therefore, if gold's the superior base, that's what you want to stack on top of. Go ahead and take a technology like Bitcoin, back it with gold, and build your monetary system on that. Hey, more power to you. I think it would be a great idea. But to have Bitcoin itself be the monetary base, hugely inefficient. I don't think that could possibly work. And people would realize that. It would just become too expensive, and it wouldn't work.